What's going on, guys? It's Aiden with Upper James Toyota, and today we put together a little compilation of our best budget-friendly vehicles in our lineup. If you do like this video, please do not forget to hit like and subscribe so you don't miss any more of our future Toyota-related content, and let's check it out. Limited to 181 units for a 2023 model year, Toyota is making a very limited production vehicle. Today, I've got a 2023 GR Circuit Edition Corolla, and we're gonna be taking a close, in-depth review to see what makes this vehicle so special versus a regular Corolla hatchback. My name is Aiden with Upper James Toyota, and today I'm gonna be taking a closer peek to see what Toyota has done to make this vehicle so exclusive in Toyota's new GR branded lineup. We're gonna take a closer peek, see what is so interesting about this vehicle. Let me know down below in the comments if you guys have one, if you're in the market for one, or if you've always wanted to get into one. I'm always interested to see what you guys have to say, and let's check out this car. Let's talk a little bit of history with the hatchbacks in Toyota's lineup. So back in the day, the Matrix was offered as a hatchback. Then it moved to a Yaris hatchback. Then introduced the Corolla IM, which was a hatchback. Then the Corolla hatchback, and now the most performance-based out of any of those vehicles, the GR Corolla, which is only offered as a hatchback model. Now, this being a 2023 model, this was offered in 3 different trim levels. You had a core, you moved up to a circuit, which is this one here, and then top, which was a Morizo edition. Now, I've only ever seen that vehicle once before, and has a couple interesting things that this vehicle doesn't have. For example, like no rear seats to really cut down on weight because it is such a track performance based vehicle. But this one here kind of gives you the best of both worlds. It's the middle point out of the 3 of them. It's going to be one of the easier ones to get, if I can even say that, seeing how this is only limited to 181 units versus, say, the Morizo, which was limited to only 40 units. So getting your hands on one of those was very, very difficult, and you actually had to enter a lottery to actually be selected to actually get behind the wheel of one. So very interesting what Toyota has done for a very limited production vehicle. But then there's this one, which I think is the best one to be buying. It's got the best performance based, the best features on it, and some very interesting things only specific to the circuit. Now, we're gonna be starting up front, a 1.6 liter turbo 3-cylinder engine. Now, that's the first time Toyota's ever introduced that powertrain. And rightfully so, it makes 300 horsepower and about 273 pound-feet of torque. Now, those performance numbers do not change between the 3 trim levels. Horsepower stays the same along all 3 of those. The only difference is you move up to a Morizo edition, which was the super limited one of 40, and I believe you got an extra 32 pound-feet of torque, so nothing crazy versus the core or the circuit, but still a little bit more of an improvement for the most track-focused version of this vehicle. Now, looking at the front end, this is featured in heavy metal, which was a new color Toyota released in 2023. If you're gonna ask me, it is a very good color option for this vehicle. It's actually only one of 2 color options you pay extra for. This one and Supersonic Red, which is interesting what Toyota has done, but I would definitely spec mine out the exact way this one is here today. Now, looking at the front end, the hood bulges only specific to a circuit edition. You look down below on the front end design, and I think that the front end definitely looks a little bit more aggressive than, say, a standard Corolla. And if you're looking at something like the GR badge on the front, they have definitely showed a lot of the GR or Gazoo racing features on the outside and inside of this vehicle, and I will touch upon all of those little features that you see on this vehicle. Now, if you're looking at the front end, yeah, there's GR there, and you probably say, Aiden, where's the other GR? You actually have GR4 written on your intake, which you can actually visually see. If you kind of get down, you can see it written across, which means Gazoo Racing 4, meaning that this vehicle is all-wheel drive, which is funny because yes, it is all-wheel drive, but you have different modes of where you can actually put the power down on this vehicle. You can have it say 100% to the rear, 0 to the front. You could have 70 to the rear, 30% to the front. You could go 50-50. There are different options in case, say, you're driving this in the snow, you want to drift it on a track, or whatever you want to do. The driving, different experiences you can have on this vehicle are basically endless with a different, system that Toyota has added to give customers that different option. Now, if I am going to be talking about the front end, I do like that there's lack of plastic on the front end, and they've used heavy metal, the color of this vehicle, on the front splitter, all throughout the side and on the back of the vehicle too. I think Toyota's done a very good job at making this vehicle visually look stunning. And that's gonna be my honest opinion about this vehicle. Now, I was very close to actually buying one of these, and the only reason I didn't was that I just couldn't justify the price tag one of these came in at. And that's coming from someone who works at Toyota. I thought that for an everyday vehicle, it's practical, it's got space, it's all-wheel drive, it's manual, makes a lot of power. Those are all things that I was gravitating towards, but I just couldn't wrap my head around saying, I'm gonna be spending 55, 60 grand to drive a Corolla hatchback. And that was just the one reason and the only reason why I just didn't end up pulling the trigger on one of these. And I've driven this one before. It's used on our lot right now, and they're a crazy amount of fun to drive. But I am happy with my decision. I do drive a GR 86, and I was more than happy, spending the dollar I spent on that vehicle, and I just couldn't justify spending that kind of money on this vehicle. Now, seeing one in person and driving it, do I regret my decision? Maybe slightly, because I do like driving this vehicle. The driving feel of it, the performance you get out of this vehicle is crazy from a company like Toyota, who typically, other than the Supra, didn't really make a whole lot of performance-based cars. So they've done a really good job to introduce very practical and affordable sports cars. I just couldn't wrap my head around this one here, unfortunately. Now, other than that, looking at the front end on this vehicle, a couple things I do like. I do like the functional fog lights that are going to be situated in the corners of your active front grille, which is cool to kind of keep the vehicle nice and cool, because some vehicles have active aero or active cooling, or some of them just look like they have it. Well, this one actually looks like they have it, and it does actually perform that way too. So I'm happy Toyota has gone that route. Now, I do like this new headlight style on the GR Corolla, which they did introduce on the Corolla and the Corolla hatchback in 2023. You now have your ambient light that comes all the way across, which is gonna be for your turn signals and four ways. I do like how it comes all the way across versus just this corner, which it actually used to do. So I think it's cool, because that's a new feature on a small improvement that they've done on the Corolla before the redesign happens in the next coming years. Now, exclusive on this vehicle versus any other Corolla hatchback that we offer, you're gonna see a lot of GR badging on the side of this vehicle. You'll be seeing one situated right here by the driver's side door. You get down and you see the Circuit Edition for this model year came with GR red brake calipers with these massive rotors on the front end for all the braking power if you're ever going to be tracking this vehicle. Now, on a Circuit Edition, these 18-inch multi-spoke black alloy wheels will be coming wrapped with Michelin Pilot 4 tires. Now, that's a very grippy tire, and I have that on my personal car. So I do like how they added a very grippy tire directly from a manufacturer that you're not having to upgrade to a package to get. Those come standard on a Circuit Edition. If, for example, you're one of those lucky 40 people who got a Morizo Edition, these will be coming wrapped with Michelin Pilot Cup 2 tires, which I think is insane, seeing how those tires are offered on some very powerful Mercedes. You even look at, luxury hypercars, for example, or supercars like Ferrari, McLaren, any of those manufacturers, that is a tire that some of those vehicles actually come with too. So it's crazy to think that that tire is on a Corolla, and it's also offered on, say, a Ferrari or a Lamborghini, which I think is a really interesting thing Toyota has done. If you're looking at more of that GR badging, you take a closer peek onto the rear of this vehicle, and you'll be seeing, just like your front intake, GR4 is written on your rocker panel. Again, another small touch that Toyota has done. And I also think it's pretty cool that you jump onto the inside in the driver's side seat. There's actually a little plaque on your door handle that basically tells you it's a limited production vehicle, only with 181 units. So again, it's pretty cool that you feel special jumping in and out of your GR Corolla. Now, if you're one of those lucky people who actually got your hands on a Circuit Edition GR Corolla, my favorite feature on this vehicle is gonna be coming on the roof. This is a forged carbon fiber roof. Toyota is really trying to save weight on probably their most performance-based vehicle that we have basically ever offered, I think. This compared to, say, a new Supra, they're great too. I know they make more power than this does, but I think cosmetically they have done very, very cool improvements on this vehicle that basically add a little bit of that wow factor from a manufacturer like Toyota. Now, the roof is not just exclusive, but you also get this all black, which is a gloss black, not matte, spoiler on the rear trunk. And again, I think that kind of makes the vehicle look a little bit more sporty, and is something that the only thing I'd actually ask them to change would be to make this a forged carbon wing. Now, I know, saving on the cost side on this vehicle, they didn't want to add a carbon wing because that would obviously increase, what they're actually spending and what they have to put to produce one of these vehicles. But I still think just the black one looks great. The only thing I would say is to make this a forged carbon fiber spoiler, in my opinion. Now, the exclusive things on this vehicle are even said onto the back as well. You have yet again another GR badge with the most interesting thing they have probably ever offered on one of our vehicles, which is a 3-way exhaust. So you've got a center tip mounted directly in the middle of your rear bumper, and then 2 other ones on both corners of the bumper, which again, I think is pretty cool. They're actually functional as well. So some manufacturers have these interesting looking exhausts on the rear, but they're actually not functional. It's just a little cover, say, and the real exhaust tip is further back. I think that what Toyota has done to make these functional and to also make it look pretty appealing, in my personal opinion, they've done a very good job. The only thing I'm going to be arguing with Toyota is this matte black piece of plastic. I think it's just such an eyesore. I wish that this was gloss to match the spoiler, or even better, match the actual color of the vehicle, which is heavy metal. I think that's the only thing I will be complaining about, and the one thing I wish Toyota changed when making this car. All right, guys, now taking a peek onto the inside of the GR Corolla Circuit Edition. Now, I know this is a very limited production vehicle, and they definitely have made a couple enhancements on the inside to make it feel a little bit more exclusive. Number one is going to be all the GR badging. So you get it on the back of your key fob. You will get it on the bottom of your steering wheel. Your start-stop button also has GR on it. These seats, they're Alcantara and suede leather material. They also have it. Now, the seat portion of the GR badging is only exclusive on a Circuit Edition or, say, a Morizo for a 2023 production model year. But on the inside, I will say I'm a little underwhelmed from what they've kind of done on the inside of one of these vehicles. I think that your digital display on the front is really cool. It's only exclusive to a GR Corolla. We don't offer this tachometer and digital screens on any other vehicles with this sort of layout. But the main eyesore for me is just going to be your center console here. I think that everything in the center, minus the actual 6-speed manual, which this vehicle is only offered in, you can no longer get a Corolla hatchback in manual. So that's the one thing that I could tell you you're in something a little bit different. But other than that, your wireless charger, heated seats, and all of your climate controls with your infotainment in the middle here is all the same as a regular Corolla would be. So I wish they would have done something just a little bit different to kind of distinguish this versus, another Corolla hatchback that we have. Now, if you're someone who likes simplicity and doesn't need a whole lot of crazy features on the inside, this is a very driver's focused car. Everything that you need on the inside of the vehicle is directly in front of you. You've got a G meter, you've got where all the power is going on the vehicle, which you actually can toggle with this button down here. You can select where the power is actually going. So right now it's 60 in the front, 40 in the rear. You could also split that 30 front, 70 rear, or 0 in the front, 100 rear. So you can drift this. I've done it before. It's very fun. But again, it's kind of exclusive to just this model. And I wish that they just would have added a little bit more for people getting into one of these. Now, I do like a few standard things that are in a Circuit Edition, like a JBL sound system, which is our top of the end for an audio system, which does sound very good. Other than that though, everything else doesn't really scream, anything crazy to me. I like the steering wheel. It's heated. It's also a different layout than any other wheel that we currently have in our lineup. We've got a couple buttons down here by my left knee. A heated steering wheel is nice to kind of have if you're ever going to drive this, in the winter time. It's a nice feature on most cars that they do offer these days. The one thing that I think is interesting that they added on this is a system called IMT. Now, it's a little button here down by the heated steering wheel button, which is basically like an auto rev matching system. Now, someone like myself, I've driven manual for years now. My personal car is also manual, and it doesn't have that feature. And I actually like how it doesn't have that feature because, the only time I've ever actually been driving my personal car thinking, wow, I really wish it had it, is only bumper to bumper traffic. And I don't drive in a lot of bumper to bumper traffic every single day. It's maybe, you know, once a month, if I'm ever heading into Toronto, for example, that I'm ever really in that kind of traffic. But other than that, that's the only time I'd wish I had that system, because it is very, very smart. And you know, you put your clutch in, you downshift to third, it rev matches perfectly for you. It's almost like driving automatic, but you're actually still going through the gears. Now, with talking about the gears in this vehicle is very interesting, because when you put your clutch in, you go into first, they're actually a bit longer of throws, I find. It might not look that long when I'm actually doing this on camera, but this versus a GR86, which is the car that I personally have, is that the system does feel a little bit different. It's not the same gearbox, and the throws definitely feel a little bit different. Now, you can get a short shifter, you can, you know, get something installed that makes it feel a little bit, you know, more refined to your liking. That's just my personal opinion on it. I think where the bite point is on the clutch on this vehicle is also a little weird. It's a little bit drawn out where it should be a little bit shorter, I think, just for the performance side of this vehicle. Now, obviously, both of these vehicles do come with rear seats. The Morizo edition, one above this circuit, doesn't come with rear seats, but they are very, very practical. You do have a lot of space. If you ever had 4 people or even 5, which you could fit, you can fit in here comfortably. However, I think most people that have this vehicle is not going to be, say, a family car. Sure, you can put your family in the vehicle, but I think it's going to be more exclusive for people wanting a fun weekend car or to track this vehicle. And with that being said, this specific unit was someone that I worked with here. His name is Adam. He had this vehicle for about 2 years. He's got a family. He drove this on the weekends, maybe to Fortinos, a couple small things here and there. He bought this brand new from us in 2023, and I can tell you this car has 1,127 kilometers on it. So not a whole lot of driving on this vehicle, but again, that's okay, because it's specific and it's a very, you know, very, very small market for one of these vehicles. And since they're so limited, it's cool that it wasn't driven 100,000 kilometers in a year and a half for say. It's actually very, very, very low mileage. So if you're in the market for a used one, this is here and available right now. Not too sure how long it will be here for, but it is here just in case you're in the market for one. If you asked me 5 years ago to start talking about the Toyota Prius, well, I wouldn't be saying a whole lot. Today, I've got the new redesigned 2023 Prius Prime SE plug-in. So if you're not for that full electric vehicle, this is going to give you the best of both worlds with a gas combustion engine mixed with a hybrid system as well. So if you want to go fully electric, you can. If you want to use just gas, you also can do that. If you're a commuter looking for the perfect full-size, reliable vehicle, this could be a very good option for you. My name is Aiden with Upper James Toyota, and today I'm taking a closer look to see what they have changed on the redesigned 2023 and newer Priuses. We're going to take a closer peek to see if the improvements they have made are worth buying a new Prius versus an old generation. So stay tuned and check it out. So for a vehicle that we've offered for quite a few years, the Prius definitely needed a facelift model. And I'm very happy to say that this model actually makes the Prius look sporty and something that I would consider buying if I ever needed a very, very efficient commuter car. Now, the Prius for me, always growing up, I always looked at it, and my grandma had a Prius, for example. You'd see a couple of them on the road, but you never really saw any young person in a Prius. It was someone who wanted a really affordable, efficient vehicle that was very good on gas. And now I think they've added the styling while still holding the same efficiency side of things onto the new generation. Now, this being a 23, this was the first year you could get a redesigned Prius. And this being a Prime, it's getting you the best of both worlds, where you can plug it in or just use your regular gas engine. Now, taking a closer peek onto the front end, this color started in 2023 and is now probably my favorite color in our lineup, called Guardian Gray. Now, it's only offered on a Prius so far. There's no other vehicles you can get this in. And I really hope Toyota integrates this color to different models, because I think this color would do very, very well on any other of our vehicles that we currently offer in our lineup. Now, onto the front end of this vehicle, this one does have blacked out badging, which is a genuine Toyota accessory you can be getting from the factory for most of our newer vehicles in our lineup today. However, I do think what they've done on the front end with these lights, they're kind of wrap around to the bottom half of your hood. I think that this has definitely come directly from what is now on the market, the Crown Signia, and the first one to market with this design, which would have been the Camry. I think that the front end styling is something they have done a very good job at, and is something that you see on the road, and it actually kind of turns your head as to, you know, what kind of vehicle that is. If people haven't seen them on the road and they saw this front end, I guarantee they wouldn't be guessing this is a Prius, which is pretty cool coming from a vehicle that's been in our lineup for many, many years. Now, this being an entry-level Prius, you still get quite a few features. The outside definitely changed a little bit, going between the 3 different trim levels on a Prime, an SE, to an XSE, to an XSE technology or an advanced package. I think that the entry level is gonna give you the best bang for your buck. Now, if you're looking for all of the features, then yes, this one won't be coming with it. But if you're looking for something that's the best on fuel because it has the smaller tires, this is the one. If you're looking for one that still comes with a push button start or a heated steering wheel and heated seats, this is also going to be the package you could be landing on. And I'll touch more onto that on the inside of the vehicle. If I'm looking at the front end, the only downfall I'm going to be saying is going to be this plastic piece down here. I think that on this color being a darker gray, or even, you know, knocking on the door of a blue color, I think that's the only thing that kind of looks like a bit of an eyesore to me. Now, it does kind of match the wheels a bit. The wheels, or I should say the rims, are probably not my favorite on this package, but they're the smallest, which means this is gonna be getting the best fuel efficiency between both your electric and gas engine. So I think it's a pretty good entry-level package, just in case you're in the market for a Prius. All right, now, as I mentioned on the front end of this vehicle, this will be the most efficient version of a Prius Prime because it comes with smaller wheels than an XSE or a fully loaded Prime. Now, these are going to be 17 inches, and they're probably not going to be the most favorable wheels that we offer on these two. If you do look at what an XSE or the XSE technology or advanced package comes with, I will be taking those wheels over this one all day long. However, for the most fuel efficient side, these will be it because they are smaller than those two packages. For me, if I'm buying this vehicle, I'm buying it for the efficiency of it. Yes, I'd like the vehicle to also look really nice. I don't think it looks bad, but it's probably not going to be my favorite out of the 2 different options that you'll be getting. But at least on the fuel efficiency side, you'll be using the least amount of gas versus the other 2 models that we offer on the Prime side. Now, looking onto the side profile of a Prius, still kind of shares a lot of similar features with the outgoing model, with this interesting sloped roof, the different door designs and whatnot. However, I definitely think the remodel design and the way that this one looks is going to be favorable versus the prior generation Prius. You guys let me know down below if you have a prior generation and if you were very shocked when they did release this vehicle, what it looked like and what the inside features, you know, were capable of getting you versus the outgoing model, which I don't even think comes anywhere close to the features and the looks that you get on a new generation Prius. Now, the only downfall I would say to this is going to be this interesting back door, which is situated up here. You push this button in and that will obviously open the door for you. Now, I know I've mentioned this before in a couple other different models that we have in our lineup, and this kind of reminds me of the CHR. Now, the Prius does sit obviously a little bit lower than the CHR, but if you had any smaller kids in the back seat that maybe couldn't reach up here, this is kind of a really awkward spot to open a door. Not to mention is that the whole weight of the door is under the handle, which means you actually kind of have to use a little bit of force to actually open this door up. So if you did have smaller kids, maybe that would be a little bit harder to get in and out of, but I'd say for everyday use and for most people, I think it'd be more than fine for you and your vehicle needs. Now, onto the back end of the Prius, I think Toyota's done a very good job at styling the front end, but I also think they've done a very good job at styling the rear end of this vehicle yet again. I think what they've kind of done to integrate the sloped back with this massive rear glass definitely makes the vehicle stand out amongst any other vehicle on the road. I really don't even know which vehicle this compares to on the market right now, styling-wise, efficiency-wise, so I think the Prius is kind of a standalone on that topic, and it's something that I think most people people would be gravitating towards, especially coming in at the efficiency and the price point that one of these come in at. Now, looking at the rear end, I really do like what they've done here, showing off Prius along your back trunk here. I think that the way they've laid that out definitely is in bigger letters, but it's just telling people that you are in a new generation Prius. And again, the rear end of this, we don't really have any vehicles that have, you know, say a light that stretches all the way across, that's styled this way at all. So I think Toyota has done a pretty cool job. Obviously down below in the bottom right corner, it does say Prime. So that is our plug-in version of any of our vehicles, which currently are offered as a RAV4 or the Prius. So this is going to be the sedan version and the RAV4 would be the SUV version. Now, looking at this package alone, you open up the trunk. It's a manual trunk. It's not a power back door. You can get the other two different trim levels that's offered in. You can configure one of those to have a power back door, just so it's a little bit more easier access getting in and out of anything in the trunk that you would need. However, it does still offer quite a lot of space. The seats will fold down as a 60-40 split, so you can still throw in a lot of groceries, any trips up to the cottage, any big suitcases. It's still practical for everyday use, and you necessarily don't need a full SUV to be getting you that practicality of storage in a vehicle. The only interesting thing on this vehicle that I've noted, and it's obviously going to be expected on a vehicle that's going to be a plug-in. Well, on your driver's side, here's your gas tank here. You pop that open, fill it up with fuel, easy, everyone knows that. But then you jump over to the passenger side and you have another tank here, but it's not a tank, it's gonna be your charging port. So it is really interesting that it does have two different spots of, you know, electric one side, gas on the other side, which is interesting what Toyota has done. I like it because it's actually kind of symmetrical, and you always know that, you know, the passenger side is going to be your plug-in side and your driver's side's always going to be your gas side, which I think is a pretty interesting thing they've done. They could have made just one big gas cap, which one half could be, you know, the plug-in, the other half could be for actual fuel. So it's an interesting thing that Toyota has done to maybe make this a bit user-friendly. I'm not too sure the exact reason why they did two separate ones. I like it because it's symmetrical. You guys let me know down below what you guys think about it. Alrighty, now jumping into the Prius Prime. Now, this being an entry level, you're still getting quite a few features. Now, if you're looking on the inside of this versus say a regular Prius, the most comparable one to this you'll be getting is an XLE on the non-plug-in version. The only big difference, the XLE comes standard with Softex or leather. The SE model, which is the entry level, just comes with cloth seats. Now, I don't mind it. They're still very comfortable, and the only difference you can really tell on the inside versus the two is that a Prime comes with all of this red. So red stitching on the seats, your dash is red. I have a little bit on the driver's side as well, which is only specific to the Prime model of the Prius, which I'm not really too sure why they did that. I know that the previous generation for say a RAV4, anything before a 2024, it would say Prime in red on the bottom right corner of the trunk. However, for 25, they've now kind of moved away from RAV4 Prime, it's just called RAV4 Plug-in. So they're kind of changing up a little bit. I'm not too sure why the red was a theme on the inside here, but it's definitely something a little bit different. And it's, you know, I'm not a huge fan. I'm also not against the red either. It's just something a little bit different on the inside of a vehicle. Now, the only couple things I guess I can really touch upon is that because it's an entry-level vehicle, yes, you'll be missing quite a few things that the other two packages offer. Now, if you move up to an XSE, which is your next step above this, yeah, you do have quite a few changes. Your biggest change is a full glass moonroof. Now, having that on the inside of this car, it's not functional. You cannot open that glass up at all. It won't even tilt, won't even slightly slide open. You just have a little power, I guess I want to say a cover that will open and close. So you can kind of dim the light coming in if it was say super sunny out or whatever the reason was. Other than that though, I think I'd really want that on this car. I wish that you could spec this with the glass roof because I think people would pay that. To have that feature on the inside of a Prius. This definitely feels a little bit more squished, especially when I'm in the back seat. Now, again, I am someone who's a bit taller. However, I still think that's a feature that someone would actually want to purchase. But with that being said, on the front end, you still get heated seats, a heated steering wheel. All of your screens are the same, minus your driver-centered screen in the middle here. This will actually get a little bit bigger to 12.3 inches, depending on the package that you are choosing. And I think that having a larger screen, yes, that's something I would be paying for, especially you add that with cooled seats and leather and a JBL sound system. You do get quite a few features moving up to a higher level for a Prius Prime. But for a base, to still have push button start and all of these great features, I still think Toyota has kind of hit the mark for someone looking for a vehicle that's coming in at a great price point that also qualifies for a great government incentive rebate. Now, here in Ontario, the government rebate, or an IZEF rebate, comes on after tax, and it's $5,000. So that is a pretty big price jump, or I shouldn't say a price jump, it's more of a price decrease, but that's a great incentive to put against the price of a new vehicle taxes in. So I think that, since this was redesigned, we are selling quite a few of them, and I think they are doing well on the market. The only few downfalls I'm gonna say about this vehicle, number one is going to be up here. My rear visibility through the rear view mirror is not the greatest. The slope back, even though that piece of glass is huge, it's not really great actually visually looking out the back. It's very small. You can't really see a whole lot. So I think that could be a bit of an issue for some people down the road. The other thing that I've actually noted is the fact that, sure, I'm taller. If I move this steering wheel, this is as low as the wheel can get, and this is as high as the wheel can get. So if I left it at a comfortable position, which is here, it's interesting because my hand actually blocks my tachometer, which is displayed on the dash. So I think that's interesting, and it's something that I never really feel that comfortable in a Prius. I think the wheel is sitting way too low, and I feel like I'm sitting too far back when I'm actually in a comfortable driving position. I can never get it set up that my mirrors and the way that I'm sitting in the vehicle actually fit for how the steering wheel and all the screens, how they're laid out for me to actually visually see what is going on. So that's my only complaint on the inside. The other big thing to consider, you'll be getting our new shifters in some of our vehicles. Now, this is shared in quite a few vehicles that we have currently. So you're gonna have this in the Prius, in the Crown Signia, a Grand Highlander Hybrid Max. There are quite a few vehicles that we have the shifter in. It takes a bit of time to get used to. However, it's very usable. It's not situated here. It's more, back towards your cup holders. So you actually, have more usable space for any storage on the inside. So I think that's a really good addition that they've added onto this vehicle. If you're someone who's had that standard shifter that you go from park all the way down to drive and reverse and neutral in the middle, that seems, normal. People jump into that car and they're like, okay, I know how to drive. However, in this one, it's kind of funny that there's so many times that I'll have clients here test driving one of these and they actually don't know how to shift this through the different gears because it is interesting. You basically put your foot on the brake, you go over and down for drive, over and up for reversed, over once for neutral, and then push the park in, and that's gonna put the car back into park. So they've done a few interesting things. It does take some time to get used to, but once you are used to it, it's not terrible. Now I'm gonna jump into the back seat to kind of see how comfortable I am sitting in the back, because this does obviously have a sloped roof, just to see exactly how comfortable I can fit. Alrighty, now jumping into the back seat of the Prius. So sitting back here, I left my seat exactly where I was comfortable up there, and legroom's definitely a little bit squished here. I wish that, if I kind of put my legs a little bit further out, I have more usable space on the backs of these seats. Other than that though, I do feel a bit squished, especially with my headroom. I kind of feel like I have to slouch down to actually feel a little bit comfortable back here. So I could only imagine if you had multiple people in the back and you had 5 people in this vehicle, yes, it would feel pretty squishy, and I would be vouching for one of the seats up front. Now, looking for anything in the rear that, you'd want in a car, for an entry-level vehicle, yes, there's no heated rear seats. They're just cloth seats in this vehicle. You definitely still do have a couple charging ports down here. So a couple lightning ports, and also a full 150 watt as well for any laptops or stuff like that. But other than that, you're not getting a whole lot. You pull down your center here. Yep, you've got 2 cup holders, which is nice. Like I mentioned in the trunk, these seats will fold down as a split, which is nice, and they're actually flat versus most of our other vehicles that a RAV, if you've seen any of my previous videos, they kind of sit up a bit like this. So there is more usable space. I've actually seen a YouTube video once before of someone putting 3 full golf bags in here because it folds completely flat. So you definitely do have usable space. I just think that, onto the rear end of one of these, you're not buying the Prius for all the space in the world. You're buying it because they're super efficient. It's a great commuter vehicle. They qualify for green plates in Ontario, which means you can use an HOV lane with only one person, and obviously your government incentive, which is a huge reason I would ever be buying in the future a new Prius. Now, this being the most fuel efficient version of a Prius Prime you can be getting, one of these bad boys will be averaging 4.5 liters combined between highway and city, which is a little bit better versus 4.9 liters combined on either of the other 2 models for a Prime. So it definitely is about a ½ liter increase, or I guess decrease, that you won't be spending on fuel, which will actually add up over time. So if you're in the market for a very affordable, reliable, and a vehicle that you could be still loading up with a lot of things, a new Prius Prime could be the way to go.
What's going on, guys? It's Aiden with Upper James Toyota again, and today we are going to be reviewing a very, very new popular sedan for Toyota. It's the 2025 Toyota Camry XSE in Midnight Black Metallic. Let's check it out and see if it works good for you guys. So the Toyota Camry was first made in 1983 in Japan. It was a 2-liter 4-cylinder making about 92 horsepower. Now here we are 41 years later, on to the 9th generation. This vehicle's been around for a very, very long time. Let's see why that is, and seeing all the new things onto the new 2025 model. So on the new 2025 Toyota Camry, you're gonna have 2 different options, front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. If you're gonna go to the front-wheel drive option, you're gonna be making about 225 horsepower. That's powered by 2.5 4-cylinder paired with 2 electric motors, or the all-wheel drive option, which is 232 horsepower with the same type of motor. Now onto the front end of the new Camry. If you're looking down here at the headlights, I'm a big fan of the new design. I did a Prius video not too long ago, and they kind of share the same headlight. So it starts on the bottom, loops back up into the bottom end of your hood. I think it looks really, really cool, and obviously gives it a very, very great new front end design. Now the front grille is very different for this year as well. It's basically the newest addition to the 2025 Camry, and something that I think makes the car look very, very different versus the outgoing model. Now onto the sides, you actually have operational, and they're not just a plastic coated air vent, it actually is a functional air vent. So it'll suck air into your wheel wells to obviously cool down your brakes and your tires to give you obviously a bit more reliability when it comes to keeping those nice and cool for you and your family. Onto the wheels of the Camry. This is an XSE, so it is fully loaded. You could get an XLE as well. They come around the same price point. However, on this package, you're getting 19-inch mixed black with silver wheels. On this vehicle, being a black on black vehicle with full tint, all the emblems are blacked out. I think this wheel combo really, really does look great, and it makes it pop a little bit more, especially on an all-black vehicle. Now, looking at the side profile of the 2025 Toyota Camry, I think they've done a very, very good job at keeping the body lines very, very easy, but also making it a little bit more intricate to the actual design of the vehicle. So if you look onto the rear here, I like this little hump that they've added on the rear quarter panel. It's something that's very, very small. However, I think what they did on the vehicle is they made it kind of look a little bit more aggressive onto the rear end. And if you kind of follow that line all the way down the side of both the rear door and the front doors on both sides of the vehicle, it definitely makes the Camry stand out a little bit more and make it look a little bit more aggressive. All right, now looking onto the rear of the 2025 Toyota Camry. So this being an XSE, you're gonna be seeing down below here, it's gonna say XSE all in black, which I think is gonna be a really good pop, especially on a vehicle that is all black. Now, looking onto the rear of the vehicle, I'm going to say this is probably the only part of the vehicle that actually looks similar to the outgoing model. So this being a 9th generation Camry, I still think that the rear end is probably the only area of this vehicle that you can actually see a comparison versus the outgoing 8th generation Camry. Now, looking at trunk space on this vehicle, because obviously this being one of our larger sedans, you still need a lot of trunk space for practicality to have this vehicle as a daily driver. Now, if you open up the trunk, the cool thing is it's now centered to the right of the logo. It actually used to be under the logo before. Now it's all the way here over to the right. Now we have some lawn chairs put in here. two big ones, a little small one. However, you can still see how far back this trunk actually goes. So if you're going to use it for groceries, going to the beach, transporting anything, you're definitely still going to have a lot of space into the new design for a Toyota Camry. Now let's go take a closer look on the inside of the 2025 Toyota Camry. Okay guys, so taking a peek onto the 2025 Toyota Camry. So jumping inside, it definitely feels very familiar with the outgoing model. Only thing I will be saying is that everything now feels a little bit more premium, I would say. You feel the steering wheel, you feel the leather, you feel the seats. Everything they've done and the finishes that they've left on the vehicle definitely make the car feel a little bit more expensive, which I think is a really, really nice touch that Toyota is doing. It kind of more feels like a Lexus in a sense. This versus the outgoing model, a lot of things have changed. So standard on an XSE model, for example, JBL sound system, cooled seats, heated seats, full panoramic moonroof on the vehicle. You're getting a 12.3 touch display with wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, Sirius XM. You have all the new features and the new safety sense features. You actually have TSS 3.0, which definitely needed an update from the outgoing model, having 2.5 plus. So having this and all of the newest features obviously will be keeping you and the people inside the vehicle very, very safe. The one interesting feature I will say is that centered behind the actual steering wheel, there's a small little screen, and on that screen, it is actually going to be something called your driver monitor camera. What this does, it will actually be looking directly at you, and if for some reason you are looking not directly in front of you on the road and you're looking to your right, it will actually alert you to put both hands on the steering wheel and look forward, which I think is a really interesting thing. They've added this onto the Crown, they've added this onto the Grand Highlander Hybrid Max, and I think a lot of our newer redesigned models are going to be having one of these features, and I think it's a really interesting one. So that's one interesting new thing that I wasn't used to driving the new Camry. However, when you're sitting in here, it feels luxurious. That's the easiest way I could kind of put it. Everything about that, the way things are laid out with the new screens and the improvements that they've made. Obviously, this is being a top of the end model for us, but even the outgoing previous generation, you know, you'd start from a 7-inch screen and you could work up to a 9-inch screen. Well, now in the new 2025, you start at an 8-inch screen and you can work your way all the way up to a 12.3-inch screen. So they've definitely added a couple new things here. Talking about the seats, that's one interesting thing. Onto an SE or an SE upgrade model for a Camry, you'll be getting a white insert down the middle of your seats. It's kind of like a mixed soft text with a little bit of fabric into the seats. These ones are all black. Now in an XSE, you can option it to be all black, or you can actually still get cockpit red, which is the full red interior Camry, which was very, very popular beforehand. I actually like the black. The red is very, very bright. So for me, having the vehicle outside being black, I like the inside also being black. I think they've done a very, very good job to keep it simple, but also still kind of adding a more sporty design with the red option interior. Now, I've done a Crown review before. The Crown sits a little bit higher up than the Camry, but it definitely makes the vehicle feel a little bit higher up, like you kind of are in an SUV. However, in the Camry, the way that you're sitting now and the way that the car feels and how you feel in the vehicle, the one reason I think I like the Crown as well is that it felt a little bit more spacious. I think they've now added that into the Camry. So I would actually be taking a Camry over the Crown. I think they've done a very, very good job at laying this vehicle out very, very well. Now, a couple other things to note. Standard on this package, JBL's of course, heads-up display is a big one. The 12.3-inch screen with your MID in front of you as well. I think that they have really catered this to not only the driver, but also anyone else inside the vehicle. So it definitely could be a very, very good option for you and your family down the road. Hey guys, I know you guys are enjoying the video, but please do not forget to like and subscribe so we can become the #1 Toyota YouTube channel on earth. Jumping into the rear of the 2025 Camry. So, a couple things to note. We've got the armrest down here. Again, I'm a bit taller. I am right on the cusp in the back seat here. So I don't really know if I slouch down a little bit, maybe it'd be a little bit more comfortable for me. But if I was actually sitting completely upright, I would be kind of right on the roof of the new Camry. So I think I'd be definitely more suitable to go in the front of the vehicle rather than the rear. With that being said though, it's still very, very comfortable. It's still very, very spacious. Now, obviously just being myself in the vehicle right now, if you added someone into the second seat in the middle here and then one on the other side, it might be a little squishy back here. But just for myself right now,
or if I had one other person next to me here, I think it'd be more than fine and I would be comfortable to go on a nice ride. Now, a couple things I will say, it's interesting onto the XSE because if you go XLE on a Camry, you get a couple more luxury features. But I thought it's interesting on the XSE, they didn't add heated rear seats onto the Camry. I thought they probably would for the new design. I know that, that's a common feature nowadays is having heated rear seats. They don't have that on this vehicle, which I think is interesting. You look down here and you feel around, you've got a couple USB-C ports. You got 2 of them actually, so you can flip them down. Obviously you can plug in your stuff, but that's really it back here. There's no, climate control. There's just some vents down here, some cup holders in the center. If you guys have watched the videos before, you guys know that I love a moonroof that comes all the way back into the second row. And I think that if that wasn't into the second row, you would feel a lot more claustrophobic in the back of this vehicle. With that being said, I still think they've done a very, very good job redesigning this vehicle. For a vehicle to be around for as long as the Camry has been, to have that going on the market for its 9th generation, it hasn't had a redesign since 2018. I think that there's a lot of high hopes from, customers of Toyota, and obviously such a large brand. And people were wondering what's going to happen when they redesign the Camry. Is it going to look, over the top? Is it going to be too futuristic? Is it going to look like the previous generation? That's a question a lot of my customers have asked, was that, what's going to happen for the new Camry? I'm so happy to not only be able to drive one, have one here as a test drive unit, because this is what this vehicle is here for. It's a test drive unit vehicle, but I think they've done a very, very good job. The only thing that I'm necessarily not the biggest fan of, I'm going to say, is yes, the back room here is not the greatest for headroom. I don't like how there's no heated seats in the back, but other than that, I think this would be a very, very good practical car for you and your family moving down the road.
So there it is, guys, the 2025 Toyota Camry. Now, talking numbers on this vehicle, combined highway and city, you'll be averaging 5.3 liters per 100. That is a very, very low number for a large full-size sedan. In this scheme right now, with just black on black, which is no color options from the factory, because obviously you can get this vehicle with red interior or a 2-tone roof. So you could get white with a black roof, heavy metal with a black roof, and a few more. Price in this vehicle, MSRP is going to be starting at $44,250, plus obviously taxes, your air tax, your government fees, freight and PDI, and your licensing. However, I think value for money on this vehicle is huge, especially on the fuel efficiency side. And we'll see you guys in the next video.